All right. Well, thank you everyone for showing up for our Explore Graduate School Week this week. We are really excited to start our central session this morning, or really this afternoon, kind of depending on where you're at, or maybe even this evening. Really talking generally about graduate school, what the graduate school process is like. I'm joined here by a couple of my colleagues in our Graduate Studies Office and our Alumni Association. So we'll do some quick introductions and then we will get started. My name is Amanda Ostrico. I'm the Assistant Vice Provost and Director of Graduate Enrollment Management. And as part of that process, I oversee our Graduate Admissions Office. I will let Howard go ahead and go next.
Hello, everybody. I'm Howard Graham. I am the Director of the Jayhawk Career Network with the KU Alumni Association. Glad to be here.
All right. Thanks, Howard. And Nicole.
Hello, everybody. I'm Nicole Reese. I'm the Director of Professional Development in the Office of Graduate Studies.
All right. Thank you, Nicole. Okay, so just a quick outline of what we'll go over today. So we already did our introductions. We'll broadly talk about the things to think about when you are considering going to graduate school. We'll talk about what graduate school really looks like, and then share some additional resources. All right. So when you first think about, whether, graduate school is a good option for you and your future career goals, a lot of students are, really going to want to consider, what area am I looking for a graduate program in? And so we've listed here, some of the more common areas where students end up getting graduate degrees because perhaps maybe it's a requirement for the field. So, business, a lot of students end up pursuing master's programs and programs like accounting, where perhaps they need additional coursework in order to sit for certain, exams. Education is also another common area where, because of how careers are structured, having that advanced degree is really beneficial. Similarly, in healthcare and social services, a lot of times there's additional training that's required or licensure that's really needed for those areas. And then, science, technology, engineering, and math, that's another area where because of the advances that we see in so many of those fields, that getting that additional training and advanced work can really be incredibly helpful. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics lists some really helpful information, really when you're looking at different careers and the different type of degrees that would be helpful. And so we've provided this link here to an article from a couple of years ago that really gets into a whole lot more detail. They also have one from 2018 that also has slightly different information that we also think is really helpful. And so I went ahead and included that article here as well. The Bureau of Labor Statistics also comes out with some really great data looking at salary information. And so, of course, another reason that individuals look at graduate school is to really see, how that graduate degree could help their long-term earnings. And so this chart does a good job here. It's from 2020. It's the most recent data that they have that really provides an overview of, over the lifetime of an individual, the salary that they are likely to earn. And so the top two are the doctoral and professional degree group. Those certainly have the highest possibility for earning more salary over their lifetime, followed by master's and then bachelor's degree, and it certainly drops off after that. Related, looking at the different levels of degrees that individuals have and their employment stability, that chart is almost reversed as far as the likelihood that those with those types of degrees will have an unemployment rate. And so, the doctoral degree has the lowest percentage that the individuals with a doctoral degree will be unemployed, followed by professional, masters, and bachelors, and so on. All right, so in addition to, looking at whether or not a graduate degree would be helpful for, certainly long-term earnings and looking at employment rates, and specific fields as to, whether that might be required for that area. There are a lot of other reasons to consider going to graduate school. And so networking is a really big one. And there are a lot of different ways that you network in graduate school. So I'm going to put all of these up here on the screen here and then kind of talk through each of them. So, let me go back. So in graduate school, your courses normally are a whole lot smaller than they are at the undergraduate level. And so you really do get a chance to really get to know your classmates, and your classmates themselves often have work experience. They can be a really great resource as you're looking to either improve your career or change your career. Faculty are also incredible resources at the graduate level, and it's very important that you certainly look at the faculty when you're looking at graduate programs, because they are so connected to ultimately what your career goals might be, and what research areas they have expertise in, which professional areas they're experts in, just generally how they can really help connect you to your long-term goals. Faculty also very much serve as mentors and guides for you, your advisors throughout your program. Assistantships, there are a lot of programs that offer assistantship opportunities. So these could come in the form of a graduate teaching assistantship, a graduate research assistantship, or a more general graduate assistantship to really assist with more administrative aspects for the program. And this is really a place where students have a chance to really get involved and really get a whole lot more training in a specific area, in a specific discipline. So whether that's with the teaching component or research, or really doing some more administrative work for the program. Research itself, of course, is another component of many of our programs, although not all of our programs. And certainly there's research that you would do as a student, but then there is also a connection that you make, with that, as far as other opportunities in the future to continue that research, down the road and in your professional setting, or other connections that you might make, as you expand out with your career in the long run. Similarly, internships and practicums, some of those can be research focused, or they could be much more professional focused. And then the professional organization connection, that's another area where, a lot of individuals certainly get involved with professional organizations, even as an undergraduate student, certainly as a graduate student yourself. This is another really great opportunity to gain more skills and resources and connections specifically from your discipline. I can use myself as an example. I went through graduate school here at KU. I earned both my master's and my PhD from the School of Education at KU while I was working full-time. And I was working full-time in our School of Engineering, helping to recruit students to graduate programs there. And I was able to really, as a student, enter and help out the professional organization that also supported me as a professional with my everyday work, and really connect, some of the research that I was doing with my graduate program that also related to my job, and really help out with different committees with that professional organization. I was able to get some funding for some of my research. So it was a really great way to kind of tie into that professional organization, both from my graduate student perspective, but then also ultimately my long-term career goals. All right. So beyond, networking, there are other reasons certainly to go to graduate school, as far as, there are, a lot of individuals who really have, intellectual curiosity, and although that could relate to your career growth or your desire to change your career, you could also find that, to your curiosity about a specific area, that really might spark your passion for some sort of, social change. And that's because it gives you a chance to really immerse yourself in a specific area. You really gain those critical thinking skills that really can, spark your interest in those bigger societal conversations. We have some really good examples I'm going to put up here on the screen of how graduate students are often at the forefront of discoveries that are happening. And I have a couple of links to some recent articles. One was about a graduate student who helped to possibly discover some water vapor on what they call our warm Neptune planets. And another one helped to discover some fossils in the state of Washington. And so, graduate students really end up doing some really cool things, whether it's research related or professional related. And these are some two very recent examples that I've shared here. More broadly, the Council of Graduate Schools also really likes to highlight the advocacy work that a lot of graduate students end up undertaking as part of their graduate program. And so this is a really great link to check out later to see more broadly beyond KU and some of the research discoveries we have here, what else you might be able to do as a graduate student. All right, so thinking more specifically about if you should enroll immediately after an undergraduate program, or if you should wait and decide, until later in your life when enrolling. I always tell students to, think about a couple of things as far as when you're looking at your career goals, are you looking for, improving your current work experience, or are you looking for a completely different career? And when you are, looking at a graduate program, are you wanting to go full-time, or are you really, wanting to continue your current position and go part-time? And some of that's going to be very dependent on the program that you're in. Some programs really need you to fully step away from other commitments and be a full-time student. That is how the program is structured, while a lot of others have part-time offerings. So really it comes down to you thinking, very seriously about, what type of experience do you need out of your graduate program for the career goals that you have. And then, of course, related to that is, whether you're interested in a master's program or a doctoral program, which can be connected. There are programs where you enter a master's path and earn a doctorate at the end. That is your end goal. There are also programs that are very separate, that, this is the master's program offering and this is your end goal, or this is the doctoral program offering and that is your end goal. We also have master's degrees that are research focused, but we also have a number that are professional focused, whereas our doctoral degrees, most of them, well, I shouldn't say most, they all have a research component. Some of them are much more research focused as far as our PhD programs are concerned, but there are also a number of professional doctorate programs where you're going to have research as a component of your degree, but it may not necessarily be in the end what your goal is for your career outcome. And then certainly some of the more important things to think about as well are funding and cost for the program. So let me put up a few questions here. For the funding aspect for your program, certainly, doing some research to see how much the program will cost and what opportunities you have for funding that program. So whether that's an employer funding the program for you, whether it's you attending graduate school full-time and perhaps getting some sort of institutional support for that program, or maybe you're in a situation like I was, where I attended most of my program part-time and my employer paid for some of it. I also had some other scholarship opportunities in addition to KU, in my case, paying for some of those courses. So there are a variety of ways that your program can be funded, and so I always encourage prospective students to think through and to be creative, and don't limit yourself to what you only think is out there. Certainly look closely at what your department is offering. That's going to be the first place to start for graduate programs. See what else though the institution or other opportunities might be out there that you just might not really be aware of. There is also some funds as well that you'd want to consider investing yourself. So that's a question to ask. Are you wanting to also invest your own funding into the program, like I would say I did in my case, or is it that with your situation and your ultimate goals that you really do need your graduate program fully funded elsewhere? And then also very much thinking about the time that it takes to apply to graduate school, but then ultimately also to enroll and finish out your coursework. And again, that's something that's going to be dependent on your specific program, whether it's a master's degree or doctoral degree, and whether you would want to go full-time or part-time. So these aren't specific answers to each of those questions, but those are the things I always encourage students to think about and to map out, what are your plans, what are your expectations, and what do you want that to look like for your program? All right. Well, I'm going to turn it over to Nicole to talk more specifically about how graduate school is program or discipline focused.
Great, thank you, Amanda. Do you want to go ahead and fill up the slide? I know we have a bunch of transitions. So the wonderful thing about graduate school is that you're really honing in and gaining advanced knowledge in a specific area, discipline, specialty, right? The wonderful thing about this is that oftentimes you're going to be participating in hands-on training. So whether that be in the lab, doing research design and carrying out experiments, whether that be working on a grant and doing human subjects testing, or any number of things. The hands-on component in graduate school is really a unique piece that you might have gained some experience of this in undergraduate if you were in a lab, but you get kind of an additional layer of responsibility and training at the graduate school level. Additionally, most graduate classes are small in size, so you have maybe anywhere from 3 to 12 students in your class, which allows you to really as Amanda mentioned earlier, get to know your classmates, but really engage with the material on a different level, have really complex conversations about the material and the content that you're learning through your graduate coursework. And through these experience, what you're doing is gaining expert knowledge, right? And these specialized skills. So what I like to talk to students about who are considering graduate school is thinking of yourself as going from a knowledge consumer. So in undergrad, you were gaining a lot of knowledge, you were being provided a lot of content knowledge through all of your courses and starting to develop skills in assessing and working with that knowledge. But what you're doing in graduate school is gaining additional skills and experiences to be a knowledge producer, right? Or gaining a higher level of expert knowledge in your field, but really gaining the experiences and the tools to synthesize really complex information and start to produce your own knowledge out of that content rather than just consuming it kind of like you did in undergrad and learning all the things that you need to know, right? So what's really nice is that through the advanced training in this content, you're thinking about things like how to do research design and application of advanced concepts, to run your own experiments, to kind of generate your own content and knowledge. You're continuing to build and really hone some critical thinking and problem solving skills, which are really directly applicable not only to your graduate training, but your next career. Those are very broadly applicable skills that employers are really interested in. When I talk to employers, and Howard could probably speak to this as well, is two of the most highly sought after skills, especially those coming out of graduate school, are really well-defined critical thinking and problem solving skills. And that's one of the things that, regardless of program, you'll be gaining those. And then additionally, you'll be developing and enhancing your communication skills. So when you're in graduate school, you're going to be writing on a different level. You're going to be gaining some advanced writing skills, either through writing complex papers, working on grants with your faculty and your faculty advisor, your committee, or whoever's running your lab, and then giving a lot of oral presentations. So you're going to be continuing to kind of hone your oral presentation skills and your persuasive speaking skills, which are also two very marketable skill sets, regardless of the career that you're interested in, whether that be staying in academia or going out into the broader professional world. Amanda, next slide. So as I mentioned, this is a really, you're going to be working on becoming a knowledge producer. And because that's the case, graduate school is a very student-centered world, because you're going to be creating original research, or it might be a creative work, or honing additional skills to put in professional practice. And to do these things, you're going to have really close one-on-one training with your instructors and also your faculty advisor, so that you know how to investigate an original research question. You know how to create an appropriate research design with the appropriate theory, methods, and data to investigate the problem or the question that you're interested in. Or gaining additional skills in terms of the mediums that you're working with in original art, or music products, or literature. So if you're in the creative writing program, getting additional skills to be a more effective writer in the field that you're looking into. And the way that this is supported is through really close collaborations with your graduate advisor, the folks on your committee. All of these folks should have some common research interest. It might be in a theory or methodology, it might be in a content area. And you will have the ability and the opportunity to have really close one-on-one interactions with these people. So either that's through coursework, weekly or monthly meetings, depending on how your advisor prefers to meet. Sometimes it's email, sometimes it's in person. And so these are wonderful opportunities to also build professional competencies in how to do collaborative work and working with people on a really complex level that are also really marketable skills to take to your professional path beyond graduate school. And you'll also be doing a lot of work in group settings for the most part. So you gain a lot of skills and abilities around intense collaborative work with either people both in your field or people a little bit far afield. So you're gaining, again, more complex communication skills to be able to speak with specialists and non-specialists and navigating that well. Amanda, next slide, please. And Amanda kind of alluded to this earlier, but the other wonderful thing about graduate school is its ability to help you start building some really robust mentorship networks. So at KU, we like to promote the idea of a multi-mentor system. So not only your faculty advisor, but the faculty on your committees and also advanced graduate students. So the benefit of this is that you get really nice personalized feedback. You find the people in your network that can help you with various things. So if you're looking to publish a journal article, there might be someone in your mentoring network that's really effective at publishing and can walk you through that process. If it's about a research design question or a statistical package, or if you're learning Python, there might be an advanced graduate student who's really advanced at Python and can help you learn kind of those skills and techniques beyond class. You get really well-rounded feedback on your writing. So not only is your graduate advisor going to give you feedback on your writing if you're writing a thesis or a dissertation, but your committee as well. And also advanced graduate students. We have the Graduate Writing Center, which has writing groups. So you can get feedback from other graduate students, which can be really helpful. And you can also give feedback to other graduate students. So it's a way for you to develop your own mentoring skills. So as you work through your own professional life, you will be mentoring others. So you have opportunities in graduate school to mentor peers and incoming graduate students. It opens a lot of doors. Faculty know a lot of alumni, as do students. So you get to create those networking opportunities because you're engaging with these people a lot in very different contexts. So there are a lot of different types of mentors. The ones that I usually focus on are faculty, fellow graduate students, alumni. Some departments have alumni advisory boards, so you will be engaging with alumni sometimes when those advisory boards are in town, and your peers too, because your peers are going to turn into, extensions of your professional network as you all graduate and move on to the next phase of your career. And I think that's all from me. I'll hand it back to Amanda. Oh, to Howard, sorry.
So one of the reasons you come to a school like the University of Kansas for graduate school is to have access to the alumni base. And I work for the KU Alumni Association, which is an affiliate of the university. And we have over 350,000 alumni across the globe. And what we do in the Alumni Association, particularly through the program that I run, the Jayhawk Career Network, is support Jayhawks, right? This is the University of Kansas, where the Jayhawks, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, is we support Jayhawks at all stages of their career at the university and as you transition into alumni status. And one of the ways that we do that is through mentoring. So piggybacking on what Nicole just went through. And I'm going to talk a little bit about mentoring in some more detail on the next slide, but just to also give you a sense of the types of opportunities that the institution, KU Graduate Studies in collaboration with the KU Alumni Association provide for current graduate students. That includes networking opportunities. Sometimes those are virtual, which we learned to do through the course of the pandemic, and we will continue to do even as we come back to in-person meetings in order to be able to serve people that live in disparate or distant places or what have you. We work with businesses, local, regional, national and global, to make sure that we're putting the best opportunities in front of our current students and our alumni as well. We have a professional development webinar series, which I'm going to post a link in the chat as soon as I'm done talking here, so you can take a look at that. It's available to KU students and alumni. We do 3 to 5 professional development webinars a month. We also try to curate continuing education opportunities, and we're a storytelling organization. So we tell stories about students who are doing internships, who are doing mock interviews. We tell stories about alumni who are giving back to their communities and leading their companies. And we tell stories about alumni and students who are interacting to produce change together, right? So all of these pieces are immediately available to you if you attend the University of Kansas for graduate school. But also, when you get to that graduation point, these things don't just disappear or go away. We have an alumni job board. We have lots of different touch points for alumni to network with each other and with students, right? And so I think the main insight that I want to project from the alumni in collaboration with graduate school and the University of Kansas is we're here to support you from the moment that you decide to become a Jayhawk and a KU student all the way through the stages of school and beyond when you become an alum. Next slide, please, Amanda. One of the ways we do that is by providing you immediate access and direct access to alumni. In the fall of 2018, so not that far long ago, we launched a platform called KU Mentoring Plus. If you're on LinkedIn, imagine it being like a LinkedIn that's specifically for the University of Kansas. And what we do is we recruit alumni to create profiles on this platform who then immediately become available to you as a student, so you can reach out to them directly to ask them about the company that they work for, about living in the city that they currently reside in, about their experience in graduate school, and how it may inform you. You can ask about advice on navigating graduate school. You can ask about advice on skill building for particular jobs that you're interested in. And again, it's direct access immediately once you get that KU login and ID, set up a 10-minute profile. And what it does is it gives you a chance to build mentoring and networking relationships with that global alumni base, which again is one of the reasons you come to a school like the University of Kansas. We've been steadily building. You can see we have over 10,000 people that are on our platform. That includes over 6,000 alumni. And again, it's just one of these value adds if you attend the university. Next slide, please, Amanda. And so this gives you a screenshot of the type of alumni profile that you can find on this mentoring platform. And you can read through some of the help topics there. They include diversity and inclusion, multi-generational workplaces, career and industry trends, internship and job search strategies. So you can reach directly out to alumni and ask them about these questions. Like I said, we also have a job board, which usually averages 40 to 50 active jobs at any given day. We've had almost 700 jobs posted over the last 3 years on our job board. And we also have affinity groups that you can join, affinity by industry, affinity by identity. And so we really hope that this platform provides a number of different things. One is it's part of that mentorship framework that Nicole just talked about. These are alumni who have taken a step forward and say, hey, we want to help current students. It also provides you an opportunity to network with people, again, who live in cities you want to live in, work for companies you want to work for, right? Work in industries that you want to work in. We have this job board there, right? All of these things are immediate value adds when you decide to attend the University of Kansas for graduate school. And I think that that's my last slide.
Yes, so we'll turn it back over to Nicole.
Yeah, I'm pass it back to Nicole, but I will put in the chat a link to our professional development webinar series so you all can take a look at that. I'm happy to field questions as they arise.
Thanks, Howie. So thinking about what grad school looks like and how that looks a little bit different from your undergrad and your undergrad experience, as I alluded to earlier, you're really moving from this area of being a knowledge consumer to a knowledge producer. And some of the ways that you demonstrate that is through our milestone exams and writing an original thesis or a dissertation. So thinking about, kind of give you a snapshot of what these things look like. There are some degree programs where you're gaining expert knowledge in a field. So instead of a milestone comprehensive exam, thesis or dissertation, these are more kind of research specific programs. You might be taking a licensure exam. You might be taking an additional exam in accounting to show that you have the expert knowledge to attain that level of expertise. So that's one unique path. In some of our non-thesis option master's program, instead of a thesis, which is an original work of research, you might be putting together a portfolio. So instead of a 70 to 80 page original thesis work, it might be 4 to 5 research articles on a common topic. In some of our other programs, you might instead be doing a capstone project. So be aware of those different opportunities and types of master's programs. And this is why we highly recommend that you talk to the programs that you're interested in to gain an understanding of the different options of attaining a master's in those programs, whether it be a portfolio or a capstone project, non-thesis, or if you're required to write a thesis. So in those kind of research specific areas for a master's or a PhD, what you'll be doing is taking a milestone exam. So these are your comprehensive exams, especially at the PhD level. Usually this requires both an oral and a written component. What these exams are designed to do is to be taken after your 2 years of coursework to demonstrate your proficiency in understanding kind of the content, knowledge, and the skills required to be a practitioner and scholar in that field, right? So that's kind of taken after your 2 years of coursework. And if you pass your comprehensive exams to show that you have developed the skills and the competencies to be considered a scholar and practitioner in that field, you then move on to your doctoral research time. And then that's where you'll be developing kind of your own special research, right? Depending on the kind of program that you're in, you might be developing an original work of scholarship. You might be giving performance. You might be developing an installation if you're in more of our visual arts programs. When you're doing the final defense, this is the culmination of your work. You'll give a public presentation defending kind of your work, the theories and methods that you used, the way that you designed your research, the way that you carried out your experiments. And then you go into an oral exam with your committee where they ask you a series of questions about your work and you have to defend that work to again show your expertise and your level of the ability to be a scholar and practitioner in that field. So most often this is written. So at the master's level, this is a thesis. And this can be anywhere from 50 to 150, 200 page document kind of outlining situating your work within the literature of the broader field and talking about the intervention that you're making in that field, the theories and methods that you use, the research that you did to carry out that experiment and kind of the knowledge that you're producing out of that work. If you're at the doctoral level, this is a dissertation. And this is usually anywhere from 50 to sometimes I have seen 800 page dissertations, unfortunately or fortunately. I think mine was 280 pages when it was all said and done. And again, this may include original materials. So if you're in geography, this might be a map. If you're in the creative arts, this might be works of art. If you're over in our music school, this might be an original score. There's a lot of different products that can come out of that original work, depending on the program that you're in. But it's a substantial body of original work that you'll be creating with the skills, the abilities, and the content knowledge that you'll be gaining through your coursework and those one-on-one experiences and training with your academic advisor and your committee. Next slide, please. So in terms of that, obviously to create, something of this magnitude, there's quite the time investment, right? So in undergraduate courses, those things kind of run on a semester time scale, whereas at the master's and doctoral level, a lot of the things that you're going to be doing are going to span semesters or years in some cases. So if you're a full-time student, many master's programs take more often 2 years, sometimes 3, depending on how quickly you're moving through your coursework and your research. At the PhD level, you're looking at 3 to 5 years, 2 years of coursework, and anywhere from 1 to 3, sometimes 4 years post-comprehensive exam to do your original research and create the dissertation. 3 to 5 years is normal. Sometimes in the social sciences, humanities, arts, it's a little bit more normal to see even up to 7 years to do all of your coursework and your doctoral research and to create the dissertation. So this is usually 6 to 9 hours of coursework per semester. So usually anywhere from 2 to 3 classes a semester, because the workload is quite a bit. You're doing a lot of reading, you're doing a lot more writing than you did in your undergraduate program. This is why instead of taking 4 to 5 courses a semester, you're going to be taking, 2 to 3. In some cases, if you're a GRA, a GTA, or a GA, this may also include 20 hours a week in the assistantship. So if you're teaching, or if you're doing research in the lab, or if you're working in an office or on a GA ship somewhere across campus doing whatever work is associated with that GA ship. And then you have to think about, so you're in class, you're also maybe doing work as a GA or GTA or a GRA. And then additionally, you need to have time built in to do your research, to write all the things that you're writing. So writing your papers, doing your original research. Oh, Amanda, sorry, thank you. Doing practicum and licensure requirements. So there's a lot of time management that goes on in graduate school. And sometimes this is a place where folks struggle a little bit at the beginning, but we have a lot of resources on campus to help with that. We have specific offices that do help with time management and productivity tools and do one-on-one consulting. So be aware of that. And in some cases, some degree programs may or may not include travel if you have to go do original research and data gathering elsewhere. And then there are some part-time options. Again, this is going to extend your time to degree because you're taking fewer classes, but the required coursework is still the same. So, it could take 3 to 4 years for your master's. It might take, 6 or 7, maybe 8 years to do your PhD if you're doing this at the part-time level. So, maybe 1 to 2 classes per semester, plus time that you're doing your research and your original works while you're often working your full-time job. And it is doable. I was working full-time when I wrote my dissertation. It took me 2 extra years just because I was managing those different timelines and the time management, but it is definitely doable. Next slide. I think I'm handing it back to you, Amanda.
Yes, thank you. And I was pulling up, I'm getting prepared to answer some more questions when we're done here. Just a couple reminders and resources I want to share before we wrap up. So tomorrow over the noon hour Central Time, we'll talk about the specific application and admission process that we have at KU. And then on Wednesday, March 9th, we'll have a representative from our financial aid and scholarship office talking specifically about how funding works at the graduate level. And of course, there also are a number of departmental sessions that are happening throughout the week. All right, and so a few resources, some of which we've mentioned and others I want to specifically call your attention to. So the Alumni Association overall link is listed here, as well as specifically the JHAT Career Network that Howard highlighted. Our career centers on campus have some really great resources, even a lot of public resources, whether you're at KU or not, on their website. So we linked to their specific graduate school resources here. We have a program cost page that lists out specifically the cost by program, and you can select, whether you're in state or out of state for a specific program. It really gets into that level of detail for you. Our graduate program profiles, this is something I'll highlight in a minute here when we go over questions. They provide a nice snapshot, both for master's programs as well as doctoral programs of that specific graduate program. And it includes information on applications, admissions, and then enrollments for new students. It generally has some funding information about how students have historically been funded for those programs. It has information on the number of current students enrolled and kind of what that looks like, the faculty. So it has a nice snapshot, quick snapshot, in addition to what you would find on that program's website. And then the bottom link here is to our general graduate admissions page, where you can find a whole lot more information, certainly about the graduate school application process for KU. And then finally, some general resources that are out there looking at graduate school opportunities. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics has all sorts of data looking specifically at salary and employment information. And then both idealist.org and Peterson's Guide to Graduate School talk more generally about all the things that you would want to consider when going to graduate school. Your career path is part of that, but there are also some other broader components to think about when you're looking at graduate school options. And so the last slide here has my contact information. Certainly feel free to reach out at any time to ask me questions. So I'll wrap up our formal part of the presentation here, and then we can switch to questions.